Hi, welcome to Get in the Herd. I'm your host, Alex Bond. This is a recovery podcast from the McShin Foundation. I'm here with the ultimate host of Get in the Herd, our good friend Nathan Mitchell. Nathan, how you doing, brother man?
Oh, expectations, Alex. How I'm doing well. Good to see you. Good to see you, Todd. I'm sitting here. You can't see behind me, but it's you may or may not see a dog or a cat back there. It's pouring here. So I've kind of stayed in the hotel for the day, trying to get acclimated to some technology.
I see the skyline and I was like, oh my gosh, they have flying cats and dogs in New Jersey. So yeah. So what have you been up to, man? Why don't you tell everyone what you've been doing with addiction across America?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's I knew that the first part of this would be pretty emotional, because I what I'm coming to realize is that for me to understand where I'm going, I have to understand where I've been. And this first part of my trip has all been with my family and revisiting the points in my life that are very, very familiar from early on. And many of them, associated with really good things, and then crap that I did to them in my addiction. So part of me is taking the time to rebuild associations, put good associations with places and people, but also, to see the people I love and care about, many of whom I hadn't seen since before I got, clean into recovery. So it's been emotional. Technically I left on the 6th of July, but the weekend before, for the 4th of July weekend, I was with my mom in Manassas, and that's really the beginning of this trip for me, this journey, if you will. And I had a wonderful time with her. I've seen her, since getting into recovery, but my mom is wonderful. I love my mom, and like no other person in the world, she can be the person I direct my frustrations and my anger at, and it's very unfair. So it was nice to have a calm, relaxing weekend with her over the 4th of July. We sat and watched Hamilton on Disney Plus. We had fun, and then we watched the Downton Abbey movie. We did the most Nathan and Mom thing that we could ever do, and that was watch Downton Abbey and watch Hamilton. It was perfect. My mom lives at a lake, and we did nothing but stay inside on the day. But then I came back to Richmond, and I left on the 6th, and I went straight to Virginia Beach and had the amazing opportunity of seeing my grandmother on her birthday, which was Tuesday the 7th. And she turned 95. I know, and because of COVID, I didn't think I was going to be able to see her in person. I really just thought I'd be, standing out a window and just waving, "Hey, Grandma." But we actually got to see her, and that I got to see her in person. I got to give her a hug, which I have to tell you was weird because I kind of felt a little guilty, for many reasons. Not so much because I haven't seen her or I hadn't seen her. But with COVID and I don't know, it just felt weird. But I hadn't seen my grandmother since before I got clean, and I hadn't seen her since before my grandfather died. And my grandfather died just about a month before I got clean. So, my life I wasn't available to my family at the time. And it's a sad point in my life because I was always very close to that side of my family. So not being there for my grandmother, for my aunts and uncles, my aunts, uncles, cousins, it weighs on me. And I'm glad, though, that in recovery, I can be available today. So I was able to sit with her for about a half an hour on the front porch of her facility, where she is. And then my Aunt Barbara was also there. She had a half an hour, and we ended up just combining the time and having about an hour and a half together, and just having a lovely time. There's a video of my grandmother dancing that I posted on Facebook. The staff came out, and they were all clapping and singing happy birthday. So she danced, that's what my grandmother does. So that was beautiful. And then I had the opportunity to sit with my Aunt Barbara for a while after that, and really talk about, my dad, her brother. I don't know if he's watching right now, but he's not doing all that great. So we talked about that. We talked about family. and just we had a lovely visit. There was one big emotional bandage I wanted to rip off while I was in Virginia Beach, and part of me kind of chickened out on that. Part of me allowed my body and my mind to overrule what I wanted. I really I know I'm speaking somewhat
cryptically.
Yeah, a little bit cryptically, yeah. But suffice to say that I just allowed myself to recognize that I wasn't ready to make a connection that I was forcing with that trip. So I feel relieved with that decision, and we'll revisit that in the future. Then on Wednesday, I got up and I went to the beach, to the actual beach. Played around with it was a beautiful day, and I don't know if you know Virginia Beach, but I spent a lot of time there as a youth. I spent years there, living there, and so I went up to North Beach where it's quieter, and I was able to play with the camera for a little bit, and I got some neat shots. And then I followed the route that I had taken 1,000 times, well, several hundred times as a child. Route 13 up the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel up from Virginia Beach to South Jersey. Where my mother lived when I was growing up. So that route is very familiar to me. And I listened to some great music. In fact, if my sister's on here, I created a playlist for my sister for her rehearsal dinner for her wedding years ago. And that playlist is a pretty good playlist. So I was actually listening to that and thinking of family the whole trip up. So it's good. And I got to Jersey. What did I do? I got here. Actually, I got here. I got dinner and I went right to bed. I was exhausted, but I took a lot of. I stopped quite a bit on the way up here, and took some little videos here and there. And the Eastern Shore. Eastern Shore is a beautiful place. I love the Eastern Shore. I love Eastern Maryland. And I even like Delaware too. So it was nice to drive through there. There's memories and to just sort of soak in the experience. But when I got here, I went to sleep, and then the next day, I had a bunch of things I wanted to do, and I just ended up sort of allowing myself to do what happened. And I ended up meeting up with my favorite teacher from high school, my high school band director, Rob Reimer. He may or may not be watching right now. He's off today. What's that?
Oh, that's awesome. You're still in contact.
Yeah. We talk to each other every once in a while. We had a lovely lunch and a little visit. I left him, and then I went to go see my Aunt Nancy, excuse me, and my Uncle Eddie and their daughter Lauren. And Lauren is one of my older cousins, so we had a nice little dinner. It's been an eating trip, is what it's been. And we spent time together, and then I went to go visit. Well, actually, so as I was getting to the place where I was meeting my Aunt Barbara and my Uncle Eddie, my Aunt Nancy and my Uncle Eddie, sorry, the check engine light on my car came on. I'm 440 miles. Of course it did. I'm 440 miles into a 10,000 mile journey, and the check engine lights comes on. And if you're a person like I am, I will catastrophize the littlest thing. I'll stub my toe and I think I have cancer. So I immediately started getting into that. Oh my God, what am I doing? I'm like, how do I figure out what the problem is? And I kind of just casually, quietly mentioned that to my uncle. He's like,
so that's why who the VW car mechanic was.
What's that?
Because you texted me asking who's the guy who worked on VWs, and I sent you a name real quick. And then you're like, okay, got it, thanks. Because usually you'd explain yourself, but I was like, okay, Nathan's clearly worried about his car to some effect.
Yeah, well, I do have a tendency to over-explain, so I was trying to spare you, Alex, frankly, but and also not worry myself. But I didn't end up calling him. I ended up going to AutoZone this morning and having a diagnostic, and then I need to get the car checked out really before I go anywhere. So anyway, I met with them yesterday, and then I left them, and then I went and met up with my best friend from high school, Dennis. And Dennis, Dennis is fantastic. Dennis bought the house that his parents lived in, that he grew up in. And so it's very familiar to me. I spent a lot of time as a child in that house, as a teenager in that house. And that neighborhood happens to be right around the corner from our high school. And it also happens to be, I'm a Navy brat. I moved around a lot as a child, but I was actually born in the same town where I went to high school. So the hospital where I was born and the house where my mom grew up and the house where my dad grew up are close by there. So I went and drove around those places. I took some pictures of those houses. They're old childhood memories, and I sent them to my aunts and my uncles and my mom. But that was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's a full on nostalgia trip there. I mean, especially, being able to go back with these new experiences that you've had already. It almost like affects your, recovery and outlook on that house. And like, I don't know, our memories are kind of manipulated by the experiences that happen in between the memory happening and now. So what was that kind of one of those uncomfortable scenarios, or was it a lot more uplifting to kind of be a part of and look back on with I don't know, a new set of eyes?
That's a good question. I uplifting. I think is there's I think in recovery we seek connections, right? There's it's been said that the opposite of addiction is connection, and I think I think for a long time, I sought in my addiction, I sought to destroy any connections I had. So for me to be able to go back and see and have connections to something is actually something, it does make me feel good. I'm sorry. I guess I must have forgot to turn that off. But it was weird. It's weird, and I'm driving around alone, and it's the people I know who are here, don't have that same sense of, hey, returning and seeing what's, something new through these eyes, because the people I know who are here live here every day. It's just another place to live.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's funny though is that everything seems smaller. I've been to my Aunt Barbara's house in Virginia Beach, many times as an adult, but that house just seems smaller to me as an adult now, and in recovery. And the house at my Dennis's house, it just seemed smaller than it was when we were children. And don't get me wrong, he's done a nice job keeping it up. That neighborhood's very nice, and the house. We drove by some of the houses we lived in too, and Robin. I think Robin is watching right now, my sister. But the one house that on Maple Avenue, and she knows what I'm talking about. It's an old house, and it was built in like 1836, and it was pretty it was fairly dilapidated when we lived in it, but it was a neat old house, except that it was probably it was scary to live in. I remember that house. I had some I'm not a particularly ghost kind of a guy who likes, things that go. That house just had some darkness to it. So it's weird to drive by it now, because what they've done is the house looks like it's been, like Disney took it over and painted it, and it's all trimmed. And then somebody went right through the side yard into the backyard and put a freaking CVS behind it. So there's a disconnect there.
But it sounds like something out of like.
Yeah, well, that little neighborhood of downtown Marlton, or Old Town Marlton, and all these houses from the early 19th century, these buildings, and it's cutesy and quaint, and there's some Disneyfication, if you will, and always has been. But that's been very familiar to my DNA for my entire life. My mom worked in one of those buildings down the street. We lived in one of those houses. Well, the one house, but another house when I was very young. So it's very, very familiar. So driving around there's kind of it was just different. But today, so today I got up, and I don't know what it's like in Richmond right now, but you can't see behind me, but it's not pouring down rain that hard right now, but it's flooding out there right now. It's pouring. It's been pouring, and it's actually like not even 80 degrees right now. So I said, all right, I'm going to get one more night in the hotel, and I'm just gonna chill out, and I'm gonna freaking learn how to use this darn GoPro, which I've been messing with this morning. So, see if I can't nail down my dates, but I do need to get the car checked out. I'm a little worried about driving and yada, yada, yada. I'll keep talking forever. What's going on down there?
Well, you gotta definitely set up some stuff when you do get the GoPro working. You know, things down here, pretty business as usual, aside from you, and we're missing you, obviously.
No.
But I did want to touch on something that you mentioned was so a lot of times in recovery, people say, you know, do what's uncomfortable, get out of your comfort zone, and all that sort of thing. And that's been kind of your game plan throughout this whole experience a little bit. And you mentioned earlier that you had plans to do something that was going to be uncomfortable, and then kind of like decided to put the brakes on, because at the end of the day, it's emotional safety at the same time. Is that, I guess, do you have other sort of plans where do you have like exit strategies and stuff like that for when maybe those things come up? Because I know that it's a case by case basis on, all right, should I follow through with this, or should I continue to feel comfortable? So I guess kind of what's your process in deciding what's safe and what's, you know, okay to be uncomfortable?
You know, I've really been digging into my recovery tool chest here, and trying to get in tune with something greater than myself.
Okay.
Praying and meditating. The meditating for me, because I do have a tendency to spin the smallest things out of control. And I knew that I know me, because I've had to live with me for 44 years, and I know that I have that tendency. The beautiful thing is that I can get through those things without drinking and using drugs on top of that, which never helped the situation, only exacerbated, and then made me screw up in the eyes of people that I really loved and care about, but ultimately screw up for myself. So. I think and I won't go into the particulars of the situation in Virginia Beach, but the reality is that my intentions, I don't know what they were. And I struggle, when I don't know what my intentions are, if it's unclear, and there's a potential to hurt myself, but really also hurt somebody else, which there is, then I kind of said, you know what, I need to step back. I don't want to cause harm, and I'm not, if we're looking at the 12-step model, I mean, I believe in 8th and 9th step, making them, writing the amends down and making the amends, but I'm not actually at that step. So that's not what this is about for me. For me, it's a journey of self-discovery and recognizing that, this doesn't feel right now with the situation. I said, I'm going to step out, and we'll revisit that later. And fortunately, if I use old techniques from when I was using, I can, always go back to the Irish goodbye, which I guess is the same thing as ghosting. But that's not particularly nice either. But
no, but that intentions piece is kind of what I was like. That's a great solution, and that tool and I'm glad you brought the 8th and 9th up, because when you talked about it, it was like, all right, it's totally indicative of am I traveling across America, getting reconnected with my family, seeing them again, and seeing all these new places so I can beat my chest and say, look how good I've done? Or is it to get back in people's lives? And you know what I'm saying? And I think that good-hearted intention is what's going to keep this a success for you, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah, I've, as much talking as I'm doing right now, I've tried to make my visits all about listening. And not talking, and the beauty of that is, I think Chris was watching earlier. Poor Chris. He's up in I think Hazleton, New Jersey, and we were going to meet today, and I've kind of pushed him off, and now of course with the car being the way it is, but he's been a sort of this guy who does this organization up there that I want to talk about and see. But my family, and being with my friends and family yesterday, I didn't want to put a time limit so much on things. So I just like, oh, it's 6 o'clock. It's the time just sort of went by. I was like, oh, he was going to call. I was going to call him at noon. And so, Chris, I'm sorry about that. But that's sort of, I'm just like, okay, it happens. It happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm trying my darndest not to put expectations on myself, expectations on other people, and on situations. With my aunt and uncle last night, there was I don't know who's watching it. I don't care. But it was wonderful to see them, and I love them so much, and they've been an important part of my life, of course, all my life. But it was at my cousin Lauren, who was with us last night. It was at her wedding that I did the damage to my teeth that about, Alex. So then there's some family, you did this screwed up thing. And something you don't know, when I was shortly before her wedding, I totaled her car. So, there's some family shit that bonus points. Yeah, bonus points, right? So it's always fun to bring that up every time we see each other. I'm like, okay, can we quit beating each other up about the shit that happened when I was 18? I'm 44 years old. But acceptance, right? Acceptance is the answer to all my problems today, because the reality is, I paid for the fee, the fee decades ago. I paid for that. I the financial part of it, and yeah. So it's like, okay, next, So it's there's a comfort to that, but there's also a, hey, I'm living my life now. Why do we have to talk about this shit that happened 20 some odd years ago? So, but it's fun.
And I think that's one of the cool little aspects of this experience is, at least from my perception, is it's one, a great way to utilize, as you were mentioning, those tools in your toolbox. It's like an excellent practice of acceptance and control and the serenity prayer, the way that you were talking about, kind of sticking to your schedule, but not wanting to being able to spend the time doing the things that you don't get to usually do, like with your family and stuff like that. So it's a great little practice of, I'll put this out there, and if it doesn't happen, then it doesn't happen. Then it's not meant to be, almost, in that aspect. And I think that, hopefully it continues to be that way for you, because if I know you well enough, you'll be able to, you've had this great game plan for everything, but you are not afraid to stop and smell the roses, which is, I think, a really, really strong character, honestly.
Well, and yeah, thanks. And I like I said, this is the part of the journey that is revisiting Nathan when he was young. This is the part of me exploring where I was before I go to where I've never been, because I've never been out west. So, from the physical to the emotional, that the next part after I leave the East Coast is all new. So a whole new set of emotions will go into play. But right now, like you were saying, using the tool chest, like for instance, I just saw him post here on the Facebook, but Joe P, I talked to him this morning about the car, because I know he knows about cars. I don't know jack shit about cars. And anything that related to a car problem just gives me agita like you wouldn't believe. And yes, I'm in New Jersey, so yes, I said agita. But it was nice to have that. It's like I have a network of people who care about me. Like Todd's been talking to me left and right since I left, and really looking out for me. And there's a couple other people I've been talking to on the as I go, because I'm alone out here, and I know when left to my own devices that can be dangerous. And, I did attend an online meeting a couple days ago, two of them, but one was like an online chat room forum, and the other was a Zoom meeting. I did, when I was at Virginia Beach, I looked up the live meetings, and I overslept in the morning, but to go to one, and I will be making meetings more as I go west, because I have to. I need to make connections, because Nathan left to his own devices can be troublesome. So Yeah, this is it's an exciting journey. I'm a person who gives up easily, or has in the past been a person who gives up easily. And something gets hard, it's just easy to say, what, well, it's not that. So there's a struggle right there. Like, for instance, the situation in Virginia Beach, I'm like, am I pushing the situation? Am I retreating from the situation because I'm scared and I need to push? Or, and so it took me praying and meditating on that situation, simply to realize that, yeah, no, I can be harmful, and I can be harming myself if I continue what I'm doing, because my intentions aren't there. But as far as this trip goes, like, this morning, I was ready to give it up. I was like, the car, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, the first little hurdle, I haven't even gone 500 miles yet, So of course I'm going to keep going. But there's a tendency in me, and I have done that in the past, to give up so easily. So this really is an opportunity for me to just sort of see what I can do, Oh, and I see my sister right there. So that's my sister. I created an online. Maybe you know this, Alex. I don't know if you saw this or not yet, but I created an Addiction Across America playlist on Spotify, and I made it open to the public, and I made it open so that anybody can put stuff in. Now I think maybe one person put some stuff in there just to be goofy. I don't know, maybe, but some people have already contributed to that. I've posted that on Facebook. I've posted that I've sent that to some of my friends, and people have been putting music in there, and I love that, because I've been listening to some great music, and I have I'm an avid listener, and I'm going to be driving a lot. So I encourage anybody, if you see it, to put music in there for me. And if you can't directly put it into the Spotify account because you don't have a Spotify account, you can text me, or better yet, hit me up on Facebook on the Addiction Across America site, and tell me what you think you should put in there, because I'll just add the music to it. And I'm open for almost anything. Actually, I'm open to anything. I may not like it, but I'm gonna, I'm open to try it.
Try it once. Be open-minded, if you will. I think it's a great idea. I think especially the music piece, because music is very important to both of us, and you can kind of see how it affects other people, and if it affects you in a similar way. And it's kind of like, the language that speaks to all. I wanted to touch on that being able to give up easily thing, because I find times where I'll self-sabotage or find a reason to give up. It'll be like, oh, great, the car's done, so now at least I have an excuse to bail out. And so that really resonates with me personally. I was wondering specifically about your plans going forward now. So where do you go from New Jersey, and should we be on the lookout for updates and GoPro videos, and maybe like vlog entries, stuff like that?
Yeah, I appreciate that. And so I've kind of been toying with how much to post. I don't want to oversaturate, but at the same time, it dawned on me this morning that I didn't take any pictures with my family yesterday. But then I went, you know what? That was such a personal part of this experience, and here I am sharing it. So who knows? But I probably will let this part and just write about this part, and then going forward with the new adventures, I'll be more willing to document. I don't know if it's going to be a regular thing, how regular it'll be. It'll be regular, but I don't know how regular. But I am building material. I've been building stuff. It's just not necessarily the most interesting yet. So maybe a video to piece together, and learning the features. Oh, hey, thank you for doing that, Todd. Stay tuned. I will definitely post something tomorrow, probably tonight, actually. Well, no, you have a show tonight, don't you?
I don't know. Do we have a show tonight?
No, because I'm going to be out of town. So tonight and tomorrow is off the schedule. That's why we did the after hours last night.
Yeah, no problem. But we'll definitely make sure that people have that after hours information. So yeah, I mean, I'm down for it, and I kind of like the whole organic feel to it. I feel like when you over plan and pre-plan a little too much, it becomes such a rigid. Here, I'm showing people the good side of things, not maybe the bad or uncomfortable side of things too. So I think that's kind of a cooler idea, and not everything has to get shown too at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it is a very intimate experience that doesn't necessarily need to be you wearing a helmet with a GoPro on it and say, "Hey, this is you're practically here with me," because then I feel like, as you said, it can be oversaturated, and it's like, okay, cool. Now I'm watching TV with Nathan before he goes to bed. Like, so it doesn't really have to be.
I'm over here. Like, I uploaded a folder, or I created a folder in Dropbox so Nathan could upload his footage to it. I'm looking forward to like putting something together with Nathan watching TV, and you're over here axing my idea.
Well, if you want to do that, yeah. I'll watch. I know you watched Hamilton, so you probably knew the soundtrack front to back by the time that you watched it on, the Disney Plus. So maybe upload that stuff to Todd, and let's get some copyright fraud or something. Maybe that'll really put us on the map.
Well, if you put music on the Spotify playlist, there's no copyright issue there because the people contribute. The money gets distributed like it's supposed to get. But
yeah, I know how to figure that.
I can't articulate it, but you know what I'm talking about. There's a plus. I mean, there is the danger of oversaturation. So the GoPro, I clipped it to the visor above my head when I went across the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel. And if anyone here has ever done that, I know my sister has, but it's like over 18 miles. It's a long bridge, yeah, it's pretty sweet. You got two big tunnels and then the little part that goes up. Well, I filmed the entire trip. It's 19 minutes of me driving through the Chesapeake. It's boring as heck. And I meant to do it in like a time warp sense because I've been using the time warp feature of the GoPro. By the way, best feature ever. It's kind of cool.
An 18-mile time lapse would be like what, like a minute? Like that. I think that's really cool to see.
Yeah, kind of like what the little video that Todd put together before I left. He used some of that time warp. It's called time warp in the GoPro. I don't know if that's a universal term, but
the technical term is time lapse.
Yeah. Okay.
So
yeah. So the time lapse, but well, and so the way that the feature works on this camera is that you can it can go time lapse really quick, and then you can pause it so that it's just back to normal time. So it can go which is a neat feature. I kind of did it when I know, right? I love your reaction there, Alex. But
I'm gonna do that when I'm like swamped, like when people are asking me stuff when I'm swamped, and just go.
As I start to get more familiar with that, but so you were asking what comes next. So I actually do have to go back to Richmond because the mail didn't get there in time, so I have to go back to Richmond to get mail. That being the case, I will either be there tomorrow night or Sunday. Well, tomorrow probably. And then I'm supposed to go to Charlestown, West Virginia. My cousin is up there, and I do want to see them, but it might push me back in a way that I might have to cancel that. Sorry, Michael. I know they're not listening, but I may have to. Anyway, so Charlestown, West Virginia is the spot after that. And then from there to Roanoke. I haven't connected with anybody in Roanoke, but I need to connect still with yeah, what's the name? I wrote the book. The book is being turned into a movie. Anyway, with Michael.
Exactly what you're talking about. I saw a news article about it. I think
I got the book. Yeah.
It's not Dope Sick.
Dope Sick. No, not Dope Sick. I forget. But so that from Roanoke, and then I'm going to Asheville, North Carolina. I'm meeting somebody there. I've never been to Asheville, so I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited about Roanoke and Charlestown too. But Asheville becomes the first place I've never been. And so from there, Asheville to Montgomery, Alabama. I think I was in Montgomery, Alabama for I think I did a drive-through 20 years ago, I think. I don't remember any of that trip, but I'm stopping to meet somebody in Montgomery. Then I'm going down to New Orleans, hopefully meeting Dan Schneider there. I haven't actually connected with him yet, but hopefully. And then from there to Houston, which is not too far, connecting with I forget, but I also have friends in Houston. I have a friend from high school, and then my Aunt Grace, she's my great Aunt Grace, and my Uncle Harry, and I guess my cousin once removed or I don't know. Well, anyway, my dad's cousin lives there as well, and so I'm going to see them. They're right outside of Houston, and then I think to Austin, staying with Joseph. Joseph, your last name's escaping me right now, but Joe. And then from there to Dallas, and then hopefully, Robin, I know you're listening right now. Hopefully, I'll get to see my sister, my brother-in-law, and their 3 kids, at least from the driveway. I know they're really concerned about COVID, and so this is actually, so we haven't really talked about that, but so, in Virginia, I think we've been a little bit, we have been very cautious, right? I think we have been very cautious. I think our government's done a fairly decent job in Virginia of taking care and making sure that things are done. In New Jersey, it's I think they're probably doing a good job here too, but I think they're on a little higher level of lockdown here. And so I wasn't able to connect with some people in Pennsylvania that didn't want to see me in person, which is fine. And people in near the shore, I wanted to see also weren't going to connect with me. So. I don't know if I'm going to run into more of that as I go west, as the pandemic seems to be escalating even more than we thought it would be. So I'm sort of taking that as I go. I don't want to put anybody in harm's way, and I certainly don't want to put myself in harm's way.
Where are you visiting? Dallas? Is that what you said?
Yeah, Dallas. My sister is in Denton, which is right outside of Dallas, I think. And then from there, I go straight west. I don't have anywhere to stop until I get to San Diego, but I've put El Paso and Tucson because they're sort of midway, equidistant points between the places, and it's just desert driving. So and then from San Diego, I don't think I have anybody there yet to meet, but I've never been to San Diego, so I'm excited. I've never been to California, so I'm excited to see that coast. I want to do I did a little video at the beach in Virginia Beach. I want to do the same video, except in San Diego on the Pacific Ocean, and then I'm taking the Pacific Coast Highway up the coast, stopping. I know somebody in LA. I haven't gotten in touch with them yet, and then I know a woman in San Francisco that I'm going to stop and meet. Francine, are you watching? And her daughter. And then the Redwood Forest, I think, is probably one of the most the places I'm really most looking forward to visiting. And then from there, I think up to Portland, Oregon, although I don't know anybody there. And then Seattle to visit with Michael King. And then I come from there. I'm going back down to Boise, Idaho. I have a cousin. I'm going to go see Stacy, I hope, in Boise. But even if I don't get to see her, Idaho is supposed to be incredibly gorgeous. So I'm going to go to Craters of the Moon. There was somewhere else I'm supposed to go visit there too. And then from there, I go to Salt Lake City and visit Evan Dunn and his organization. And from there, my next stop after that, I believe, is Las Vegas for Mobilize Recovery. And then 4 days, I get there on the 17th and I leave on the 21st. And then from there, I'm going to do the Grand Canyon. And I guess there are 2 other little canyons that are close by there that my Aunt Nancy was just telling me about yesterday. I need to. What's that?
They're called the wee canyons, like the little wee canyons.
If you hadn't laughed, I would have believed you. I would have gone out west going, I'm going to go see the wee canyons.
Actually, they're called the not so grand canyons.
No, they're not. They're called, did you hear that? Oh my God.
They're the canyons.
Yeah.
What? You think you're so big?
You think he's so grand. So you're going to see the Wee Canyons and then probably visit 28 more cousins. Like your cousins are so spread out across America. It is a huge benefit, honestly, at the same time. So it's like a motivating factor. And it's like, cool. So I haven't seen you in forever. Can I crash here? Like, that's what I would do.
You would think. However, I'm not staying with any of these people. I didn't get to stay with any family, except for I think Michael. I might stay with if I go to Charlestown.
Well, that is also, I didn't think because of the COVID thing too at the same time.
I haven't even asked. I didn't ask to say. I mean, like I know, and Robin, I know is watching, but I didn't ask because of that. That very that because of that. So I didn't even bother asking. Once I leave the Grand Canyon and the Wee Canyons, I'm snorting now. My route gets a little. I haven't quite. Somebody in Colorado Springs. I think I might end up going that way too. But I definitely want to see Duke Roomley in Colorado while I'm there. And I think if I go to Denver, I'm going to shoot up to Wyoming to what is it, Jackson, Wyoming, and then over. I'd like to go to Minneapolis if it's not, if the world's not ending in Minneapolis in a month and a half from now. But I do want to go there, and then Minneapolis, and then go down to Milwaukee and Madison, and then I do have family in Michigan. I don't remember where they are. Grand Rapids. So I'm gonna see my Aunt Jenny. My Aunt Jenny, she'll be 98 in September, I think, 98 or 97. So she's the oldest of the McLeod sisters, and you don't know this. My grandmother has 2 sisters, and I'm going to visit one of them in Texas, and I want to visit the other one in Michigan. So I haven't reached out to them yet, but I'm going to hopefully see them, and then see my Tara Moreno. I forget the name of her organization, but she does really, really cool things, and she sent me some really cool stuff a few months ago for just calming. She's out in Flint, Michigan, so I'm eager to see her there. She has an RCO there, and then from there, somebody sent me some information about Louisville, Kentucky, so I might make that a stop on the way. I get back when I get back. Hopefully, I'll be back by Recovery Fest, which is September 12th. At McShin. So that's my goal. My goal is that week.
And then run up to International Recovery Day. Because as soon as you get back, it'll be hit the ground running again.
Don Winslow, he is in Virginia Beach, isn't he?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I was down there the other day, and I went, oh shit, I never really thought to, hit him up, or if I did, I forgot about it. Oh well. But yeah, so and when I get back, I don't know what the heck I'm gonna do. It'll be weird at that point. Hopefully I'll be thinner. I don't know. So, what's going on with you, Alex? How are you doing?
I'm hanging out, man. I found out that I have been in compliance with my wonderful ankle jewelry, which has been nice. So I will be going to jail for 10 days, and then it'll be over with. It's kind of bittersweet.
Did you go to court?
I have to go on Thursday, and so my lawyer called me and said, so I got your information. Looks like you've been in total compliance. So all you're going to serve is that mandatory minimum 10 days. And I was like, sounds good. Let's knock it out and get it over with. So that's kind of bittersweet news. I mean, no one wants to go to jail, but if it's the least time I can possibly do, that's for all of my troubles. That's kind of given me hope that this has continued to work. Everything's cool down here. I had a great weekend. I think we talked about 4th of July. Like, I've talked to a few people saying this is one of the first, 4th of July stretches that they've gone without using. And it's one of those, big holidays. It's kind of getting through St. Patrick's Day without drinking, getting through 4th of July without using or anything. I think, especially, in our current circumstances, is not easy to do. So I think spirits are pretty high around here generally, which is awesome. and just staying in contact with my sponsor, working the ninth right now, making some amends.
You're on the ninth step, huh?
Yep.
Woo, look at you going. Woo.
Yeah, so that's been, as fun as it can be, really. I've made a couple to people that I know will react warmly, and I've kind of been a bit touchy on making those hard ones, but I'll bite the bullet and do it. It's not like it won't get done. But I'll make sure it gets done on my terms. You know what I'm saying? Like
on your terms.
No, not at all. That's being very, very sarcastic, because that's not how my life works anymore. Like I don't go to jail when I want to. I go to jail on Thursday. So that's kind of what's been going on around here. I don't know. I'm excited. We had some great podcasts yesterday with Courtney and Brandon and Terry and Jason.
Yeah. I saw a little bit of I only a little tiny bit. I saw that it was on, and my phone goes crazy. But was it you had two separate podcasts yesterday?
Yeah, so we did one in the afternoon, and then we did one at night, since we won't be able to do any on the weekend. And definitely different. Everyone's kind of at like different stages. So like Jason last night was at 2 weeks. Brandon's at about 30 days. Courtney's at about 90 days. And I think Terry's looking at about 6 months or something like that. So I love these participant check-ins, and maybe it was 3 months. I can't remember. Yeah. It was 90 days. Okay.
It was 90.
So
I think so.
It's really cool kind of checking in with these people in different stages, so you can see, kind of the skittishness and the vulnerability. And then at the same time, people who were in that scenario telling other newer participants, like, just ride it out. Like, talking with Terry's great, because I remember when he very first got here, and now he's like a peer leader in our participant, and I love the dude. So it's really cool seeing him succeed and be a role model to these people, and a very you're a huge role model. So other people being able to see what you're doing and saying, man, if I can just get a game plan, pick up and go, and use my tools, I can go on a Jack Kerouac journey across America, especially for a good cause. So I think what you're doing is wicked inspiring. And I would have been down. I would have loved to go if I did not have prior obligations.
When you're done, when you get out of jail, are you done?
Oh no, I've got another thing to deal with in September. But that problem is done, so that's one less thing off the table.
All right.
That's how you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time.
Oh God, my mom says that, and that's how I know. I do too, but that's how I know she's not an addict, because when I hear something like that, the person like me will say, well, yeah, you eat it one bite at a time, but you can't possibly eat an entire elephant before it goes bad. So you need to butcher the elephant. But to butcher the elephant means that you need to get Tupperware so that you can take all the, put the elephant in Tupperware or wrap it up securely. But you need freezers to put the elephant in. And of course, for me, if you're really like me, you have to make sure all the Tupperware is the same Tupperware, and the freezer has to be perfect. Yeah, it gets exhausting to be in here.
You can't just have the Tupperware; you have to have the lids.
Oh, yeah.
And you have to use every part of the elephant.
Yeah, I've told this story before, because people have said that. Yeah, but my mom says it all the time, and I'm like, no, don't talk about that damn elephant. And besides, who the heck wants to eat an elephant anyway? It sounds disgusting.
Sounds like someone who's never had elephant before.
I have never heard that comment. I've never heard that in my life.
You've never heard that phrase?
I've never heard to eat an elephant, you got to eat it one.
That's like the non-recovery 1 day at a time is exactly what it is. It's like a very old school, because I think I heard my grandfather say it first, and then you don't hear it often, but I just always picture someone sitting at a table with a plate and just one bite of elephant, and just this massive elephant I don't know. That maybe we're talking about the elephant in the room too much. Is that such a thing? Ultimate mixed.
Who has the space for an entire elephant? Do you have a platter for that? What do you do to cook that thing? You know, jeez. Yeah.
If there's a will, there's a way.
If there's a will, there's a way. What's the weather like down there?
It's nice. It's been like 80 degrees to 92 degrees like all day for the last week. It's just in between delightful and miserable.
Anything 80 is miserable.
You think anything above 80 is miserable?
I hate the heat. So I hate the heat.
God. I usually, well, I don't know. It's the humidity that gets me. So,
so
Alex,
Nathan.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, well, one of the things we wanted to do is try to do this as like a weekly thing, like the further along you go. So I definitely think it's important because of something actually Alex and you had said, like once you get past your comfort zone, of, being where places where you've been, it's really going to get real. And so that's inspiring. So like, I think that gives an offer of hope to people that do watch, the podcast or will watch it later on that, you know what, I'll get my stuff together, I get some time in recovery and, nothing's the limit, so I did want to say that, like, I do want to get with you off air and, try to line up stuff and, so we can keep doing this weekly.
And I'd love to see of the time lapse going over the Chesapeake Bay Bridge right beside, like in a video, right beside a time lapse of you going over the Golden Gate Bridge. I think that would look so cool. Like, all right, literally one coast to the other, side by side. Rice is asking, where are you at? Where you at?
Where you at? I'm in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, which is I'm not sure if it's Burlington County or Camden County, but I grew up in Marlton, New Jersey, which is the township next door to here. But I'm right off of exit 4 of the New Jersey Turnpike on Route 73. It's a cute little town. It's right outside of Philadelphia, not too far from Atlantic City, but I'm not a big Atlantic City guy. Despite my family being out there.
And don't have any special plans to go to Atlantic City. Maybe I'm being snooty about it. I hear it is a bit of a cesspool.
Yeah, if I'm being honest. It is. It's funny. We have my grandparent, my mom's parents, my mom's family grew up here. So did my dad's family, but they're a little more disconnected from here. But that side of the family has been here for generations, and so we have ties to Atlantic City going back, over 100 years. And what I didn't know is that we have a family plot down there. My mom's family has a family plot down there. So, I guess at some point, because we've got Larkin. My mom's maiden name, I probably shouldn't say that on the. Well, anyway, it's Larkin, and it goes back over 100 years. And I didn't know this until just a few years ago when my great uncle died. But we went to go visit this place, and I guess at one point it must have been a nice neighborhood, but it's in a real shithole neighborhood, man. It was disgusting.
Wow.
And it's like, here we are burying my great uncle, and I'm like, geez, this is what I got to look at for eternity. Yikes. But sorry, any family watching that, but they're all my family who live there now are in Ventnor and in Egg Harbor, I think. So those are nicer communities.
Well, Nathan, I'm going to continue a lasting tradition and ask you, my friend, my brother, what are you grateful for today?
I'm so glad you asked that. Because I've been in hotels the last few nights, and so I've been making my bed, and even though I'm in hotels, and so I'm grateful to have. To put that down, I'm knocking shit over here. I'm grateful to have perspective. I'm grateful to have people around me who help me have perspective when I don't have perspective. I'm grateful, which is part of, my network. So I'm grateful for my network of people, and I'm grateful for the ability to just, get out and explore and to break down some of the fear that's been stuck in me for a very long time. I was a very adventurous, I thought I was a much more adventurous young man, in my early 20s. I wanted to see the world and do this and do that and blah, blah, blah. And I did a lot of cool things, and I have done a lot of cool things in my life. But I find myself getting, really just scared to do things, fear taking over and pushing, my dreams aside. So being able to just say, you know what, I want to do something. I'm going to do that, and to be able to do it. So grateful for that.
Beautiful, buddy. Todd, what are you grateful for, man?
I'm grateful. Oh, hold on, got the wrong microphone turned on there. I'm grateful. I'm grateful to see Nathan. I'm grateful to actually see someone, venturing out and doing something new. And I mean, legitimately, like, even in the midst of the fears, I'm grateful to see you having the courage to follow it through. So, and with the car issues with the check engine light, don't worry about it. It'll all work itself out. Don't worry about it. I don't mean like don't worry about it, like don't get looked at. I mean,
forget about it.
Don't worry about it. No,
I get AAA.
I meant, you can go see the country on the back of a rollback. Just pay the driver. Yeah. So I'm telling you got to tow it to Washington in the back. So no, but seriously, I do. That will work out. So you've taken a leap. You're making a journey. And the fact that you have the courage to do it is bigger than the fear of because you're going to be left with the what ifs if you don't follow through. Yeah. So and that's so that's important. I'm grateful to see you actually stepping out and doing this. So
I'm grateful for you, Todd, for helping me really push me the last couple of weeks. Really, I appreciate that, and Alex, for you and your enthusiasm.
Of course, man. I'm grateful to have you in my life. You're a wonderful inspiration, and I'm just very happy to see you actually, fully commit into the bit, as they say. Is a really cool experience that I think a lot of other people can learn from, and it gives you the opportunity to learn a lot about yourself at the same time. And I appreciate your honesty and transparency in saying, there are some uncomfortable moments about it. So I'm grateful to have, someone so honest and, a good role model in my life. And Todd, I'm grateful for you too, buddy. You've given me a great opportunity here. I'm just pretty grateful all around that I don't have to really seek validation anymore. It feels like the more patient I am and keep doing the right thing, the more things just happen, which are pretty cool and successful. So
I was talking about you. I was talking about you with my Aunt Barbara. I said, my God, this guy got the freaking Niagara. We were talking about Niagara Falls because they went. And I said, oh, my buddy Alex got the freaking thing lit up purple for September 30th. I think that is the coolest freaking thing, man. I'm so excited. I'm glad you're around. I'm glad you stuck around.
Well, thank you for coming on, Nathan. This has been a delightful catch up, honestly, man. I really appreciate it. Todd, thank you, buddy. It's always a pleasure. Nathan, I love you, man. Hit me up anytime, okay?
All right. Love you, boys. Thank you so much. It was good to see y'all.
All right. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
Hey guys, this is Todd. I'm the producer of the Getting the Herd podcast series. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank everybody for their votes and just to remind everybody that you can continue to keep voting daily until July 19th. We're actually really excited about the opportunity to be in the running for best local podcast in Richmond. So this podcast has been instrumental in helping so many people's lives, myself included. There's a lot of work that goes into these podcasts. And, anybody that's in recovery, needs something good and positive to listen to, and not just for them, but for their family members. And just remind people that you can vote daily until the 19th for the Richmond Times-Dispatch Best of 2020 local podcast. So we're really excited about the opportunity to help further the message of recovery for those that may not even know about it, or those that are still sick and suffering. So thank you again, and we look forward to bringing you more podcasts daily as we can.